I've noticed that intuition is in the heart and fear and trauma is in the brain.
Absolutely.
That's the best way I can describe
Absolutely.
it.
The fear is exactly in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You shift your focus to your heart space. Immediately, the fear shifts, and that's beautiful. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
It's a practice. It's a practice, and this is what blew me away when the higher realms told me, like, fear is an illusion. It's only happens here in the face. As
Yeah.
you change the focus to your heart space, that vanishes. No, that's beautiful.
Hello, welcome back. This is Andreea Parc,
And Alexa Dumitru.
and this is Alive.Again podcast where attorneys and other professionals meet to discuss real life challenges and how our decisions shaped our journeys. Today is the last episode of the year, and we have a special guest, and it's a pleasure to have Vasudha Ralla. She is a soul purpose coach, intuitive healer, divine channeler, and helping special needs families with divine alignment. Thank you so much, Vasudha, for being here with us today. Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Andrea and Alexa. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
It's interesting that I was doing some work on LinkedIn about a month ago and I saw your posts. And I immediately connected and felt an inner peace somehow with your posts. And I reached out, and that was somehow a mutual connection. And I thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you. It's all divine timing and divine alignment. I really believe in that. It's not just me. I have my spirits around me and I can feel it. So it's in a bliss. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you. I guess I would allow Alexa to ask the first question because we had this conversation.
We've been having this conversation for years at this point.
And now I said it's the perfect person.
The perfect person, yeah. So I've had this question to myself, this ongoing question about how do I tell the difference between a trauma response or an intuitive feeling? So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah. So it's a great question, first of all, because that's problem, right? Like how, like I get all these emotions, I have all these feelings, but how do I know whether that's something coming from as a reaction versus whether it's guiding me or the other side or higher realms guiding me? So what the information I got from the other side is when I asked this question, I can be as logical, but I wanted to ask this question on the other side, and this is what I've gotten. So, responses and intuition are on the completely separate end of the spectrum. So, intuition is knowing, whereas trauma is a memory and a reaction to the memory. Trauma could be a present life, past life, and these could have happened like years ago. So have you noticed like something would have happened like when we were little, we don't even remember, but it's in our psyche and it's in our energy, right? And we play out a pattern based on that. So the trauma, especially, we have awareness is very important for trauma. The healing can happen very like instantly. That's very easy part. But awareness of what the trauma is that is triggering that emotion, and that is the toughest part. And whether you do meditation or whether you ask help from someone, that doesn't matter, or whether you do your own work. So you typically know where the trauma is coming from in the first place. So when you give that awareness that it needs, you can see all these emotions come up, the feelings come up. So what you need to do is be in that awareness and presence of those feelings, not to suppress them, not to put a band-aid of them on them, because it's a process. The healing has to happen. So during this process of healing, you will go from the trauma to learning, right? Now that memory that you had about this situation or circumstances is the reaction or the emotion that you had is now going to be transmuted from pain, anxiety, or whatever into knowing. It's just, it was there. You can look at all the people that were involved. And when you observe the situation, can you forgive? Can you forgive so that you move on and live a life that is more aligned with you, right? So when you observe this, you will know that everybody, we are all acting as players, right? We are all acting out of our own belief systems, our own past experiences and things like that. So when we observe the situation, not the people, but the situation itself, how it played out, we can see that we are playing different roles. We're playing a part in that, right? Like when we take ourselves outside of it and look at it as a 3D perspective, when we look at it from the top, we typically see that, oh, all these people are behaving based on their own past life circumstances or their like, belief systems or whatever. Now that becomes a knowing, that becomes a learning for you. So once it becomes a knowing, it's no longer a trauma, right? That becomes an intuition now, right? So that knowing, when you change from the trauma, which is a memory of the bad feelings, anxiety, anger, whatever, to knowing, when you heal and forgive and let go, and then you go into a high vibrational state. Your body automatically goes into high vibrational state, because sadness, anxiety, and all these are like very low vibrational state, right? So as soon as you let go, you switch your mindset, you go into happy mode or you go into forgiveness mode, and that is instantly going to switch your frequency. And that's when you're in tune with your intuition. Now it's the knowing. You switched from past memory that has pain to knowing, which is intuition. So that's what I've been told, that like it's two end of the spectrums. So how do you discern that, whether you're getting the emotion? That comes over time. When you're no longer attached to that situation anymore, you're no longer attached to those scenes anymore or people anymore, but suddenly you get a thought or suddenly you get a knowing or a visual, right? And it comes randomly out of nowhere, right? Have you noticed that when you'll be sitting doing, maybe doing your dishes or things like that, and you think about a friend or somebody, they just call you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So, so that's in telepathy and intuition or whatever you call it. So when you're in that state of high vibration where you're letting go, your mind is not stuck, with those lower vibrational or lower frequency emotions, then you're instantly putting yourself into that mode. So what I would say, what has helped me is awareness is very, very important. Regardless, suppressing emotions is not going to work. Have you tried, like when you're angry and you want to, like, oh, I want to replace the emotion. I'm upset with this person. I want to replace the emotion. Has it ever worked for you?
No.
It has never worked for me. So what I do, I let it sit, right, in that moment, and I'm aware of it. Okay, I'm feeling this, I'm having this emotion, but I know I can tie it to something, right? Then I know it is not an intuition, it's a response to whatever, however I'm wired or whatever that is. But when we take ourselves out of it and then we start receiving these messages randomly out of the blue, you can't put a finger on it sometimes. Over time, you'll be able to discern which one is intuition and which one is my response, right? So does it make sense?
Yeah, I've noticed as I've been tackling with myself on this question, I've noticed that intuition is in the heart and fear and trauma is in the brain.
Absolutely.
That's the best way I can describe
Absolutely.
it.
No, I think, see, I have chills because the spirits told me this, and you said exactly the same thing before coming on the show. They told me, and I think I wrote a post on that too. It's like, yeah, the fear is exactly in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You shift your focus to your heart space. Immediately, the fear shifts, and you have
Yeah.
only love and compassion.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it's still a problem, right? Like I'm
Of
fearful.
course.
I
It's
get
always gonna be.
it's a practice, and this is what blew me away when the higher realms told me, like, fear is an illusion, right? It's only happens here in the
Yeah.
mind, the space, right?
Yeah.
As you change the focus to your heart space, that vanishes. No, that's beautiful.
What part does choice? So you spoke about awareness. Awareness alone doesn't do much without choosing who do I want to be now that I'm aware. What's your take on that?
Oh, I have my experience to talk about that. I'm sure you have your experiences too, where you know exactly why the transformation happened for you. And I'm sure you both have those experiences. What was that switch? Why weren't you able to do some things, and why were you able to do some things? Even the biggest things that look like miracles for some people and magic for some people, they can't really figure out why you are able to do it and why they are not able to do it. Even some people don't believe me when I say that I had a spiritual awakening and I can do this work, right? Because I don't look like any spiritual quote unquote person sometimes.
Yeah,
And I
so
look.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get to this point where you're doing what you're doing?
It's a good segue into the intention part and the
Yeah.
choice part for sure. So I'm a software engineer by profession, and like growing up, I think I was connected to, I had questions about who are we, like who am I? Because I was able to see people, you know, who are different from me, and I can't hear or feel what they were feeling inside their head or heart, but beyond my mind something was there, which was, this was, I think I was teenager at the time. I don't remember the exact day, but I remember the place where I was at. So I had these questions, but you know how we are conditioned: work hard, study hard, go to school, and then start working. And that's what happened. I got conditioned, and also I forgot about it, those kind of questions that came to me. But life hit me pretty hard. I was too deviated from my path, who I was supposed to be. And I became somebody who I was not at my core, and I was not living my purpose and my path. I had working at Silicon Valley, very good on paper, like I was progressing really good. But then my personal life was miserable. So what I learned is I had choice. Even though miserable state that I was in, that was my choice. I made those choices to be there. So now how can I get from that unpleasant choice to a pleasant choice? Again, that was me, right? We have this awareness. So once I knew that this was not working for me, that's awareness part. Why change happens for some, why change doesn't happen is the willpower. Only if you give that thought an intention, which is a power, right? Intention has power, thought doesn't have power. So when you think, oh, I want to change this, and you don't do anything about it, then it's just a thought. It's not a intention. So what I was told is like intention has a power. You have a will attached towards it. You want to do anything that it takes to get to the other state. So you have to make an intention that this is not working for me. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be in this state. And then you have to ask, what is it that I want to feel next? Whether that's happiness or whether something else. So we have to have that, ask a question, and then know what we want to be next. And after that, you should not have any questions, no judgment, nothing. And then all you need to know is what you want to be. How is not your problem. What happens is a rational mind starts thinking, oh, if this, only this is possible, only if I know how to do it, only then we start going and working on it. That is the problem, why things happen for some and why things don't happen for somebody else. Because I didn't judge. I said I want to be happy. I was miserable at that time. My life was pretty low. And I said happiness was remote. Like thinking of happiness was completely out of the questions. I said, I want to be happy. I don't know how. Show me. World, show me how. That's when I started meditating. Before that, I had no experience meditating. And during that, I had my Kundalini awakening. That is when I could sense all the chakras, because before that it was all theory for me. Now all my chakras kept cleansing, and I could feel and see what each chakra meant. I The label was there theoretically, but I knew where each chakra was and what it meant, and cleansing, and immediately within a week my vibration was so high. So all the people in my life left. I mean, the people who were causing to be in that state left. Think about intention for a second there. So you have to be careful how quickly you want the change to happen, but you have to be courageous too. It is not an
Yeah.
easy, only you alone can walk that path, and you have to be ready for people to leave you. I'm sure you might have noticed that too in your lives. Do you remember a time when you like in a state where, I feel helpless, and then you say, I want to get out of it, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you start working on yourself, people start leaving you, things start
Yeah.
falling apart.
Yeah. You mentioned something really important when you said, show me the way.
Yeah.
So I think another piece in this equation is surrender.
Yes.
Because I have several clients that are stuck in that, yes, I know I don't like my life. I know something needs to change, but I'm waiting for that change. And my work with them is to bring them from the outside, that I'm waiting for my life to bring me something, to no, it is my responsibility to have the intention and choice and do something else actively with my life. But when we're stuck in that, I'm waiting for life to bring me something, without surrender and let things be as uncomfortable as they would be, because they are, right? I don't think that things change.
Tell me about that. Do you recall a moment where you were like, I'm done, I surrendered. It's painful to go through this, but I surrendered. Just tell me how to get out of it.
Yeah, it's very interesting that I was an attorney, I was practicing, I didn't like my life. I had so many signs, but
Exactly.
I thought that I'm controlling my life with the mind, until my higher power took over and took literally control out of my hands. And that's when I surrendered and things started to change.
How was it after you surrendered, after you came out of it? How was your state?
So I was in prison, right? Physically, I
Mm.
was in prison. My mind was free.
Yeah,
So it was such a relief that even though I was imprisoned physically, you never can imprison the mind. My mind was free and I felt free.
yeah.
So
So
it
basically, your
was,
higher self said, like you said, you spoke, like your higher self, like say, we need to stop you. We need to physically stop you so
yeah,
that you have this awareness, you surrender, and then once you come out of it, you're going to do bigger things. You're going to do more aligned things. This is not end of the world. It's just a temporary pause for you to look at your life, then do bigger things.
so you spoke about higher vibration, and we work a lot with professionals, attorneys, which don't quite understand how that works. Would you be able to explain what that is and how do we get to a higher vibration, so we align ourselves, so emotions don't stay in the way and we can make better decisions?
To somebody starting from absolute zero, from no knowledge at all.
Again, spirituality is just a label, right? So we don't have to label it anything. We just have to connect with ourselves. How does it feel to us? I'm a very logical person, by the way. It has to make sense to me. Like we are living in this physical world. It has to make sense to us. Otherwise, what is the point? We are here to do things, to sit and
Right.
meditate. So if we take those out, like somebody who's starting from zero, who has no connection, and those are the best people. Those are the people who are connected, people who read a lot, who want to know a lot. They're confused most of the time. So, but the people who have no idea or who have no half knowledge about things, they don't have any labels. Those are the best people, and those are the most spiritual people in in my opinion, because they're connected to how they are feeling. Let's say they're disconnected, that's a different thing. But when somebody's starting from zero, who have no like hang-ups, oh, I have to be this way, I have to be that, shoulds and shouldn'ts and mustn'ts of life, then they're more in tune of how am I feeling now, or what am I growing, right? How do I feel doing certain thing? Some people love dancing or singing. That's a self-expression. How do you feel when you do that? Some people love helping others, and some people want to save people, like in army, people in a military, or some. So they are dressing themselves and doing good in the society also, right? So they have to understand, like, does it feel good what I'm doing now? Is it helping me in my own growth? End of the day, do I feel good about it? Then that's a high vibrational frequency. That's a high vibrational energy in itself. We don't have to have any labels, right? Are we pleasant? Is our mind and heart pleasant? That is what matters. Do I feel good doing what I'm doing now? So that's what matters. And what happens in corporate world, especially because of the politics and people climbing ladder and trying to bring each other down, because I've been in corporate for 18 almost 20 years, right? So I've seen how people can be mean to each other so that they get their promotion or whatever. I never understood that. I never understood that how somebody's defeat or somebody losing is a success for you, right? But that also does, you have to be competitive in the corporate world too. But can you do it in a way that's more aligned with who you are? That's what matters. Are you expressing yourself in a way that's not hurting other people, and that's not causing any destruction around you, right? So those are high vibrational frequencies too. Essentially, spirituality is nothing but living your life to the fullest in this incarnation. That is spirituality. We make it too complicated with do's and don'ts and things like that. I would rather stay and talk to a person who has no idea about spirituality, because I don't know a lot. I
Yeah.
only when I have a question is when I go look for the answers. I don't read books. That may come as a surprise. I don't read books. I don't know a lot of people, names that people mention to me. And they look at me as if, like, I'm too, like, not knowledgeable, right? But
Yeah.
I don't care. How do I feel? If I have a question, I'm going to go look for it, look for answers. And whenever I was stuck, I asked for it and then I got the answers, right? That's what it matters. Somebody who's starting from zero, don't go read books and self-help books and those things. Ask yourself, you will get the answers yourself. Go for it. And like I said, what is important? What do you want to change in your life? And then once your focus shifts, right, that this is what I want, and you might have seen everything starts showing up in your life, which is relevant to that matter. And now that is the time, that is your sign. Okay, I need to look at this, I need to look at that, and what feels right for us, and then do that without judging. That's what it matters. One step at a time, one step at a time. Because 10 or 12 years, I had my awakening in 2012. At that time, if you told me I'll be helping people with their energetic alignment and healing and divine, even now, divine channeling is relatively new to me, because I'm at the point where I said, oh, you know what? I want to do more. I want to grow, because I feel like I need some growth. So that is important. Am I growing doing what I'm doing now? My needs had changed recently in my life. That's when I said, because I have these needs and I want to find answers, and the answers out there are not helping me. So I have want to grow. That's when the divine channeling came into my life, and I look for the right teacher and whatever who can help me and give me some tips and on that. Even that, it has to be aligned, right? We keep what feels right. So if you ask me, I'm the least spiritual person you will probably find, in terms of I don't have any do's, don'ts, musts, and shouldn'ts and things like that. And those are the best people in my opinion. So that's what I would tell. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people get stuck with horse blinders on. You know how horses have the blinders so they don't see around? They get stuck with horse blinders and they're like, oh, well, I can't start because I haven't read this book. Oh, I can't start because I don't know this person. Or, oh, I can't start because whatever.
So that's their surrendering to those in a negative way, right? People say,
Yeah.
oh, I want to control, I want to surrender, I don't want to surrender to my higher power. So the question, like, the higher realms asked me was like, to this question, I was asking them, you surrender to your phones every day, you surrender to your television, you surrender to your bosses, then why is it so difficult to surrender to your higher self? That's you, right? So
Because it's unknown.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
people are trying to control their life. It's a paradox. We're trying to control something that cannot be controlled, but we're afraid to release and let go and surrender to what's best for us. But because we don't know what that is and we're afraid of that, we don't do it.
yeah. We're trusting other people more than ourselves, is the
Yeah.
point essentially. So if you want everybody else to validate us, if you want everyone in the world to tell us who we are, and even if one person tells us differently, then we start questioning ourselves. But that is the irony, right? Like when our inner self is telling us that this is who we are, and we don't have to give it labels as inner self, higher power, and all that stuff, right? Like without any labels. How do you feel? Like it's common sense. Can we just use common sense and just say, oh, like I shouldn't be giving my power away. I should be doing
Yeah.
my own research. I should be doing my own, making my own choices, for example. I should not, that's all common sense, but still we keep giving it away to somebody else. We trust other people more than ourselves. Like that's,
And that's where the self sabotage comes in.
yes,
We don't know what our needs are. We're all over the place with our energy,
yeah,
and we do things against ourselves to hurt ourselves instead of growth.
yeah. And have you noticed that we keep getting those signs, subtle signs, but we keep ignoring them, and suddenly life pushes you so hard that you wake up and say, oh, what's wrong? What's going on with me? And then you ask questions, but you had signs all along throughout, but you keep ignoring till it became so big that there's you have no other place to go.
Yeah.
You have to ask those questions.
Do you have any tools to teach people on how to unlock that inner power before life does it for them?
Oh, tools. Okay. It depends on where the person is. If I'm talking to a person who have never dated before, or what stage they are in, I think we have to take it slowly. What happened with me was like I was at 0 and I went to 100. So I mean, during this beyond 100, right? So my vibration shoot up so much that everything fell apart. Like my life went 180 degrees. That's very hard for people. So not many people can handle that because I had to rebuild myself. I had to like everything. I lost everything that was personal to me. So I had to rebuild. But if you're aware, it doesn't have to be painful. Small steps, the tools, what you can do is doing things that gives you joy, doing things that gives you passion, whatever you're passionate about, what makes you feel good. If your work is not giving that to you, you can take it as a hobby, do something on the side that lifts your spirits up. And if you're going into a deeper state of maybe sadness or depression or things like that, I would say ask questions. Ask questions. Why am I feeling this way? Why are things happening this way? And just wait in silence. And suddenly things will come to you. Oh, because I made so and so choice, or because of so and so things that are happening in my life. And then you have a choice. Oh, how do I change that if I want to feel something instead? So the tools are just be present, ask questions to yourself, and then you will receive those answers, whether the instant moment or through something else. You might be scrolling on your phone and you might see some video that answers exactly the same question, or some friend may phone you and then they may trigger some conversation that is related to this and you may get answers. So asking questions is very important, and practice this, what works for you, because everybody is different. Have you noticed? For me, I'm an empath. For some people, they get dreams and visions and things like that, right? I don't know what is your intuition like? What is your clear?
Yeah, so for me, dreams help me a lot.
And
Yeah.
then in the hindsight, I mean, initially you don't, you just brush it off. It's just a dream, right? But then over a period of time, now you know which one makes sense, which one seems real, and which one is just you're too tired and dreaming, imagining something. You can discern that over a period of time, right? So for me, it's the feelings, emotions, and the thoughts that I get. So over period of time, whatever your way of feeling and knowing, if that is what your intention is, that is what your will is, you can pick a method that works for you and see if that feels right. And if you're stuck, ask questions. That has always worked for me. Asking questions, okay, why am I feeling this way? How can I change it? And
And
then
be open
be open. Exactly.
to
Be open.
receive. If you're asking the question from guilt, you will never get the
Oh,
answer. I mean,
yeah.
the answer would come, but you would never perceive it,
Oh, yeah.
feel it.
And then the growth too. What are you asking about? Are you asking to hurt somebody? Are you asking to get one over somebody else? Or is it for your own growth?
Yeah.
So that matters. Those matter. And you said, like you said perfectly, get yourself out of the way. Surrender. Surrender is such a terrible word for some people, but without that, change is not
Yeah.
gonna. And once you do it, once you get a hang of it, you will know how powerful it is.
Yeah. And what do you think of the connection between our emotions and the body?
Oh, that's a good one. Let me ask you this. What is your default emotion? Everybody has a default emotion, by the way. And that's the big part of my work. What is your default emotion? Emotion, like, as in, how do you feel? How do you get your feelings? Like, is it anxiety, anger, joy, happiness, that kind of thing, where, like, if something, like, usually it's in the form of chills, or it should be like powerful, right? Like anxiety or fear and things like that, where it's your body is telling you. That was your question. How do you receive those messages is your question.
I'm
Right?
definitely an anxiety person.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel it in my body. I get like, I ended up in the urgent care a few times because I thought I was having a heart attack. I mean,
But
and it took me a
But
while to
what was it?
realize.
Was it situational? Like, was it something triggering that?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a situational thought that
Mm-hmm.
at the time I wasn't so in tune with myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that it was coming from a thought. And all of a sudden, I was sick at the time, ironically, and I had just taken medication. It was in the morning, and I was half asleep trying to go back to sleep so I can sleep off whatever sickness I had. And all of a sudden, my chest starts to get tight, and my heart starts racing, and I get up and I try to like shake it off, and nothing happened. And I tried to go back to sleep, and I started to really, really panic. And I told my mom, and my mom was like, "Well, if this is really concerning you, we should go to the urgent care." And the urgent care was like, "Are you sure you're not having anxiety?" I was like, "Me? Anxiety? How dare you?" And over
And
time,
you're not an anxious person, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I think at the
But
time
you're
I was
using your
too
rational mind.
prideful.
Yeah,
I
okay.
was too prideful to
Gotcha.
admit that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not having a heart attack and this is really anxiety. So I had gone back, and after a few times, it was like over a period of 2 years when I was having such crippling anxiety that I couldn't leave the house.
Wow.
And at one point, I just said, I'm done. This is it. I went to so many doctors, they couldn't tell me what's wrong because there was nothing wrong. It was anxiety. And after a while, I went to a holistic doctor, and that's when things started to get better. I went on a diet, and it was a whole thing. But even now, I still have moments where I have to stop and ask myself, is this in my brain a trauma, or in my heart an intuition? When most of the time, it's a trauma response.
Trauma response for you. Okay. And then you can tie it back to what that's memory or
Exactly.
that's really good. I mean, you have this awareness going on where you're healing too. When you're getting
Absolutely.
up. So sometimes you're able to differentiate between trauma response and
Sometimes.
right? You'll get better at it. More and
Yeah.
you do it, you'll get better at it. How can you tell if it's an intuition? That was Andrea's question. So my default emotional response typically, if things are going, not in alignment, or if I don't like it, then I get angry or I get sad. Right? That's my default reaction depending on what the situation is. I'm not an anxious person, and but suddenly I get this heaviness in my chest and I feel very anxious. And then I have to ask myself, why am I feeling this? Or I can't put a finger on it. I can't tie it to anything that happened. It's not like I had a fight with somebody in my family or whatever. And why am I feeling this? I have no deadlines going on. But then you will realize that you're forming a new relationship or new friendship, or you're forming a new connection which is not right for you, for example. That happens to me quite a bit. For me, my over the period of time, I know that my anxiety sometimes is connected to people when they are not right for me. Only when I block them, when I cut them off, is when I that anxiety goes away. So that comes, the body is telling you in the form of anxiety, but when you feel love and when you feel that, that's like, oh, it's going in the right direction. But when you feel that anxiety, typically that means things are not going in the right direction. That's something you have to look at. What happened? Why is it that is happening, right? So your body is constantly telling you. Your intuition tries to tell you in different ways in terms of thoughts and things like that. But if you don't listen to them, then your body starts showing the reaction, right? In the form of anxiety or whatever that is. And you have to understand over a period of time how is it that your body reacts and get those senses. And higher self is always communicating through you, basically.
Yeah. I get probably is anxiety as well, heavy breathing.
Yes,
And I need to stop to control my breathing.
yes,
And that's when I ask questions.
yes, yes,
And sometimes I get the answer immediately, sometimes not. But if I really need to do things, I take a couple of minutes to regulate my breathing. I realize there's an emotion attached to that, and I breathe it through. And then at the end of the day, when I have time for myself, then I process it and I understand it. And the next time is less powerful.
yes. That's absolutely right. We have to build on top of another, right? It's not going to happen overnight. And that's why a lot of people think this is all nonsense because it's not evidence based. Like that's a term like I get triggered a lot, evidence based, and that you are an evidence, right? You can do your own
Yeah.
research. You don't need somebody else to spend millions of dollars to do research so that you feel better.
But
Yeah.
everybody's different. Everybody's going to react in a different way. Some people might take longer than others. So there's
Yes.
no evidence to be had. It's just what how you are.
And that's why it's called woo-woo too, because they don't understand it. But for me,
Yeah.
whatever the label, because from a like a logical, analytical mindset, and then having done my master's and working in Silicon Valley, all that, I remotely would want to label myself as somebody who's spiritual and do the meditation, right? But it made sense to me. It helped me. So everybody has to decide if it's helpful to you or not. If it is not, then just leave it. If you're
Yeah.
blissful, singing your heart out, dancing your way out, then that's in itself is perfect for you, right? Like you don't have to put any labels or do things. And that's how I look at it. We make life too complicated, I feel. And that's what the higher ones keep telling me. You take yourself too seriously. They keep telling me you take yourself too seriously, that you have to lighten up. You have to have fun. We are here to have fun. We are here to experience things, right? We forget that sometimes.
What would you tell someone who goes through breakdowns, career changes, burnout? What would you tell them?
Yeah. So that's a dear part of, again, that's my lived experience through it too, like burnout. Why does burnout happen in the first place? Burnout happens because we are too deviated from our paths. We are too deviated and we have to work so hard to be somebody else that we are not. That's why we have the burnouts. If things are aligned with who we are, then it's very easy and it's very simple. And if it's causing so much pain and resistance, is when we have burnout because your body is telling you you're not aligned. You're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. Again, life purpose and soul purpose and all this may sound a very heavy term, but it is not. We are here to experience life. We are here to, I feel we are here for a purpose, and that purpose may be very simple, right? It doesn't have to be like I want to win a Nobel Prize or anything like that. It's not, doesn't have to be that. It's very simple. But the burnout typically happens because we are too deviated from our path. And that's when, again, we have a choice. Because are we going with what other people are designing for us, or are we making our own choices? And most of the time, we are not. And if those choices other people are making are aligned, then that's perfectly fine. But it is not. That's when we feel the disconnect. And not only that, we are physically disconnected with the body and also with our inner spirit, or whatever labels you call it, the inner knowing. And then we feel helpless and hopeless, right? So if it is like too painful, then asking for help is not a shame at all. And I've asked for help when I was in a bad state, and that's when people help me come out of it. And sometimes we don't even realize that we create problems for other people without knowing it. We might feel that we are doing things in a for betterment for others, but it may not be the right match for the others. But again, it comes from that awareness, right? That's very important part of what I do. Because if we are not aware, then we are just shooting darts in the dark and we don't know where we are going. So that's the biggest part of my work, where I sit with my clients to discover themselves, who they are, how they are wired at the soul level, and then even the mind and emotional levels and the physical level, so that they can realign their path. So healing is a biggest part when such breakdowns happen. And it is for our own good, right? We have to look at people and see, like I said, we are all playing a part. Sometimes these people come in our life and give us those situations as part of our purpose too, like as a contract for us to learn. And then we have this big thing that, oh, we always have to have good times, right? That is the biggest hang up people have, because ups and downs both have a purpose.
Yeah.
What they have told me is, in the lows, we are able to find our strength and courage, and we are able to see how strong we are. Even the lows have a purpose, not only the ups. And that's when our lows, we see who we are and how we want to be. And that's when we can slow down a little bit and see where we want to go next. So breakdowns happen with everybody, but how you come out of it and what you make out of it is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And once you come out of the other side, it's going to be very blissful, right? Have you ever noticed that you have this huge fight with somebody and then you let it out and you just like burst out, and then everybody feels good. Oh, they say, "Oh, I'm glad you spoke your mind," or "I'm glad you did this," and then we feel good.
The seasons of life. We all have summers and winters and,
Spring with a lot of flowers.
spring. Yeah.
In store, and then in winter we take things out. You grow in summer and then you take things out of your freezer in the winter. So it's all, you're right. It's very seasonal and cyclical. It's all cyclical in life too.
Yeah.
And it's all for our growth. That's why when we stop looking at lows as something bad, then we look at things very differently. What is it that I'm learning is the question we should have. Once we come out of it, it's nothing but learning. And then now
Yeah.
you have a new skill, you have a new strength, you have new courage to do something. Is that's
Yeah.
I mean, in my past almost 50 years, like I'm 47 now, so it's been quite a bit of experience for me trying to put this in perspective, because sometimes experience matters too, because we don't know when we, and for me it's all experiment, right? Like I'm a very logical and analytical person, like I said. So I have this data point, I have this data point, so I make sense of it. Okay, I put together everything and I say, okay, this makes sense to me. And for me, like you said, everybody is different, right, Alexa? So I'm different. And knowing how we are wired is the first step in what I do with my clients. Because if you don't know how you're wired,
Yeah.
then you'll start chasing somebody else's idea of perfectionism and somebody else's idea. You read, especially in relationships, they have these different ways of like good relationship, perfect relationship, and they want their partner to be in a certain way without even understanding how their partner is wired in the first place, right? That's how my original work started. Like, how are we wired? Because we have astrologers telling us this is what your future is, or this is what you who you are, and then there's somebody else telling us who we are. Then that's when my quest started, when everybody else was telling me this is who you are, and this, it's all their perception and their interpretation. But who
Yeah.
am I know it.
Yeah.
And who is Andrea? Only you know it. And I can only tell you based on what I perceive. I mean, not energetically reading, but even then, I will not know 100%. And who Alexa is, you know it better, and you're young. So over the period of time, with experiences, you're able to build that strength, and you're also growing, and your potential is going to grow too. And that's all again in your intention, because we are not here to play small. That's what higher realms have told me. We are not here to play small. We are here to push ourselves to the highest and the fullest potential of our potential in this incarnation, is what they have told me. And I play it small too, right? Like I have my fears, but then I ask for guidance, and then I'm like, okay, let me do things a little differently. And it's a reminder. We have to keep reminding ourselves. It's not gonna like shift in a
Yeah.
day, but there's an
Yeah.
ongoing.
It's ongoing work, yeah, with ourselves. Yeah.
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 And things keep changing too. Andrea, like the experiences that we had in the past, and now we have completely new set of challenges.
Definitely. Definitely.
But
Yeah.
but if you
Yeah.
look at the patterns are going to be very similar. How we react might be very similar. So energetically may have the same root cause. The circumstances and situations may be very different, but the how our responses and how the patterns, how it plays out, will be very similar, right? So that I've noticed, that how am I responding, or how can I change this? And silence, like how can you be silent in some times when just like you don't know much, like instead of like using our words, how can we just observe and be silent? Like those are the tools and techniques. Because you have asked me in the beginning what tips and tools I have, and I would say silence has worked wonders for me. When you start communicating, I myself am not clear. Like I tell people, like I'm not 100% clear, so let me just be silent. I mean, I'm not perfect. So then things come, and then things figure out, and people realize what they are. But we start communicating, we start talking, then what happens is we start using ourselves like into good or bad. We have
Yeah.
to have that defense mechanism. So sometimes we just have to let it be, and then things will evolve.
Exactly. Yeah. Human nature to separate things in good or bad.
Yeah,
And we always strive for good, not knowing what really that means.
yeah.
And we choose paths that we think are good for us or for somebody else, but we don't really know.
I've gotten from the higher realms is there's nothing like good or bad. That's the labels we have given.
Yeah.
It's our definition of good or bad, but there's only learning in most of the cases. And from what I've seen, if people are doing bad things, then they have to clear that up in the next life, or present life, or next life. It's not gonna, their soul is gonna imprint their soul. And through my
Yeah.
readings, I get patterns from even past lives, like 12, even from that long, 10 past lives back. So it can happen lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. So we have a choice. Can I learn from this and then get rid of it now in this lifetime, so that I don't have to repeat the same in the next?
And spare the next generations.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Yes.
that's very important.
Also, that's a good point, Andrea, because even we are passing our genes. Sometimes it is deep in our physical too, in our cellular memory, and then we are passing that on to generations too. So sometimes when I think about how I react, I feel like, oh, this is how my grandparents or my ancestors would have responded, even though I don't have influence of them now. But I feel like culturally, I would respond in a certain way that my ancestors would have responded. This is not me. I've never been exposed to that, but that's deep in our cellular system, and we have
It's
to clear that as well, to cleanse that,
yeah.
right? That lineage
Yeah.
through multiple lineages as well.
Yeah, and we can only change that with awareness coupled with intention of doing something else.
We have a choice, right?
Not following the same pattern, but
Yes.
taking responsibility for our own
Mhm.
choices and
That's a
actions.
great point, because what the higher realms have told me, when you shift your mindset from blame and helplessness or victimization to empowerment and change, this is exact words they've told me, and that's when you can make things happen, and when you can clear your trauma. You have to change your mindset from blame to change, blame
Yeah.
and helplessness to empowerment and change. These are their
Yeah.
exact words, not mine.
So now that we're approaching the end, there is one question that I ask every guest, and that is, aside from your work and responsibilities, what is one thing that makes you feel more alive?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because being a mom now, I don't get to do a lot of things, but I like to create things physically. Like I like to create things, and I'm good at arts and I mean, not good at painting, but I would mold things, like lately I've been doing a lot of jewelry out of this polymer clay and even beading and then with wires and anything that's physical. I used to be great at embroidery at one point of time. This is like when I was little. So anything that I can create with my hands.
Hands.
So that's one of my self-expression too, on top of being an empath and a healer or heart-centric person. I like to build things, I like to create things, and I have multiple hobbies, by the way. I used to renovate homes, and I used to take homes and remodel them and renovate them. I have a diploma in interior designing, and I have I'm all over the place. That's why I like to do whatever I feel like doing. And yeah, I'm an engineer by profession and education, but I have a lot of hobbies. And when I create, I feel really alive. What about you, Andrea and Alexa? What do you love to do?
For me, is nature. It's
Mhm.
nature and talking to trees. I mean, it's,
That's great.
for some people, it might feel weird, but and I learn a lot from trees. You know, I
Mm.
was talking about the seasons of life. I look at trees, how they change leaves and how they go through this transformation throughout the winter, and then springtime the new leaves come out, and then the summer and the fall when everything changes, and somehow protect themselves for the winter time, protect their energy for the winter time, and then for the cycle to come back on. Nature, it's an incredible way for me to clean my energy.
It's very grounding, obviously, but do you sometimes go with a question and you get your answers in nature,
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It happened to me once. I had a question whether to quit a job, and then I couldn't decide. I just went and touched my tree. It's like probably a 100-year-old tree. And then I went barefoot and touched the tree, and the tree immediately told back to me, it's like, you should quit it. And then I never looked back. So sometimes
Yeah.
things happen. How about you, Alexa? What's
So I'm a fashion designer, so I very much like to create things as well. And I know sometimes it could be a little, the lines could be crossed because what I love to do is also my job. But it really truly is what I love to do. And it makes me feel so alive. I love sitting, and it's like a puzzle. So I love, it's like a puzzle, but then I get to relax and it really just helps me think through things and relax and just kind of be
Create.
present and create.
aren't you lucky to be aligned with what you like and
Absolutely.
match your work with what you love
Absolutely.
to do? I'm sure
Absolutely.
you have a great guide sitting next to you who is helping you to be, right?
Yeah.
That's always helpful.
Yeah. And of course, she was a teenager and she had her own moods and things. And I've always thought I see her one with her divine self. And even when I couldn't be there to guide her, next to her, I surrendered her to the universe and to God and to her higher power, which knows best what's good for her. And I trusted that whatever is best for her will come to her.
Amazing. And you raised another point, emotions when they're teenagers. And what the higher realms have told me is when we are children, we are very close to divine. We don't label things as good or bad, and that's the label society has given what is right and what is wrong. But when we hit our puberty and when we are growing, our ego starts to come in, and that's when we are able to sense what happened in the past, whether that's good or bad, and that's when the emotion starts coming up too, and we start feeling it. And what they have told me is if we can help them navigate through these emotions, and that's when the intuition develops. Because a lot of the times we say, oh, suppress, replace it with something else. But what if these children, teenagers are given that space, an environment where they can express these emotions and learn where they are getting those emotions from, whether that's inner child healing that they have to do. And this is a new word, by the way. I don't label as inner child, but if there's something that past life or when they were a children, if that's coming out, how do they process those emotions? If they can work on that and if they're given some guidance, and then when they grow up, they'll be much better in terms of being in tune with those intuitions, in tune with those feelings.
And with themselves, yeah.
Yeah, instead of saying, oh, you are teenager, you're having hormones, maybe they are not hormones. Maybe they are now, their ego is kicking in and they're able to discern between what is right, what is wrong, and that's when it comes up as emotion. Now they're also very not, they're fully not responsible for their own life yet. And how do they express and comes out as some kind of emotion? And if they are given some guidance in that time of life, when they become adults, then they have more awareness, and that's when they're not going to suppress their intuition also. So anyway, I had to segue a little bit, but that ties in very well. Maybe it's not the hormones, maybe you're developing your intuition and you have to.
And that's why I've always said that what the crappy parts of my life happened to me at the perfect time, because I wasn't able to develop my own thoughts and beliefs along that poor path that we were going on. And I was able, because when you develop your own thoughts and beliefs, you have to unlearn them. So I didn't have to unlearn any beliefs. I just grew my beliefs based on who I am now, which I'm really, really grateful for, because it happened, the crappy part of my life happened right when I was 15, 18, 20. So it was the perfect opportunity when I soaked up those experiences like a sponge. And I had the opportunity to say, how do I want to react to this? And how do I want to be aware of this situation?
Who do you want to be?
Who do I want to be? Exactly. Yeah.
That's beautiful, because a lot of times what happens is till 20, they are learning what somebody else have told. The society is shaping them. So till 30 hits and they're like, okay, the life hits them. And they say, you're deviated from your path. Right? 33 is when around then they have this crisis and they break down. 35 is when typically this is a pattern that happens. And now they do the inner child work and whatever healing and whatever that happens until they're 40. And 40 is when they're living their life now. And
Yeah.
40s are the best time of people's life. But what if we cut that down, like what you are going through? What if we let the children have that means to express themselves and be aware and guide them better? That they cut down the process of unlearning that period from 20s to early 30s. If we can let them enjoy their life the way they should, then they have the entire life to do a lot more things in their life. But again, it's all divine alignment too. Maybe those downs are necessary for us to have
Yeah.
that path. So I have no regrets. I have no regrets how my life has taken, what ifs and what nots, right? So everything that happened in the past, the lows is what shaped me now. So when I look back, I have no regrets, but I've made some choices. I take responsibility and ownership for those choices. Only then we can grow,
Yeah.
right? So how about you, Andrea and Alexa? Do you have any regrets when you look back,
No,
right?
I have no regrets. And I know that what happened was for me to wake up. And I'm grateful that my higher power took over and turned everything into the way it turned out. Because everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Because that was the only way for me to change.
Yeah, you went through a lot, right? Not only emotionally, but physically, you had to like go away. That's a lot of people
Yeah.
go through mental breakdown. They're in their homes or whatever that is. But now you're physically away too. Good or bad is its own learning involved in that. But you had the entire package, all dimensions. The 3D, the physical, the mental, emotional, and soul, everything was confined. You
Yeah.
had a whole package
Yeah.
going on for you.
And I made that choice because a lot of people ask me, how were you able to come out on the other side with this positivity and this outlook on life? And you're not bitter or upset or angry on what happened. Because I realized I made a choice that this was for the best. And if I made bad choices before that got me to where I was, now I have again a choice to who I am going forward in life.
True. And what is that moment you remember where you like, okay, something has to change? And you talking about surrender again or whatever, but what was going through your mind? What is it was the emotional state which said enough?
So I was in prison. I've tried everything that I thought was good for me, which clearly I was in denial, and nothing that I chose, nothing. Most things that I chose back then weren't for the best. And I was in prison. I lost everything, and I was at the lowest point. And that was the moment when I realized, well, at least I have my life. I have my life. I have my daughter who's alive, my parents who are alive. And now is the moment when I get to choose something else. If I was able to choose that before, it's still me who I can choose differently. And I realized that if I would be stuck in bitterness and blame and negativity, it would not have helped me in any way. So I released, I let go, I surrendered, and that was the moment when basically I felt free while in prison.
It's amazing how our stories are different, yet they have the same pattern. It has same energetic pattern,
Yeah.
regardless how it appears on the surface, whether that's prison or being prison in our own lives and in our own body, whether mentally we are prisoners, feeling helplessness. It doesn't matter what our circumstances are, but the patterns, the energetic patterns are the same, and the steps to get out of it are also the same, regardless of what situation it is. And that's how I help my clients too. But tell me how you help your clients and how, with this understanding and this transformation you have, how do you help your clients heal, or what is it that you do?
So for me, the main question is why some people have this switch of the mind very easily the way I had it. It's my responsibility to take control of my life and choose differently. And other people don't. Other people stay stuck in there. So they are aware, but they don't have the choice. And that's what I'm working on with my clients. Do you really want something different in your life? Do you put the intention into a different outcome? And what the I use the word outcome, but I'm not explaining them not to attach any outcome to it. So I'm changing the way who do I want to be regardless of the outcome,
Of the physical outcome, essentially.
the
Yes,
physical outcome.
yes, yes, yes.
And of course, for attorneys and people stuck in that mentality of success and profession, it's very hard. I'm looking for them to take personal responsibility because a lot of people are looking for outside circumstances or people to make choices for them. But with my clients, and with Alexa as well. When she was younger, she would ask me, what do I do? These are your choices, and which choice is best for you to take? You decide. If you're looking at me to decide what's best for you, I won't do that. You need to choose what's best for you and own your decision. Because without that, it's just waiting for the outside circumstances to change who you are.
We have to change first. We have to. And now I call myself energy nerd or energy geek because that's how it comes down to. I put
Yeah,
logic
because
in
that's,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, everything is energy. And when I tell people that, it's very hard for them to understand.
Yeah. I can.
But when I start to explain about responsibility and personal responsibility, because if you don't take radical responsibility for your own life, basically nothing can change.
Absolutely. 100%.
We should definitely do another podcast though, because we just scratched the surface.
Sure.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that. And
And I feel that we have so much in common. When you said that you can't express how you feel in words, I'm the same way. I have so many ideas and I want to express them, but they don't come out.
oh, these days channeling helping me because when I sit down, I said, okay, divine, like these are the questions, give me the answers. And like I'm amazed at like some of the answers that come to me. I'm like, oh, did I write this? Some of the language is very different. But yeah, words, if telepathy was a thing, I used to always say if telepathy was a thing, that mode of communication, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the communication of the future.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm already practicing it. I'm already working on it. It's working very well.
Because somehow I feel that emotions get in the way, and people, instead of communicating what they really want, they don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they're getting into fights and arguments without the intention, but just they don't know how to communicate otherwise.
Yes. Two people, right? Their state, this person's state of mind and this person's state of mind, if they're not aligned, then it becomes a fire. Like
Yeah.
you're lighting fire into it. So it's such a, and words, it's very limited. The language is very limited how the things flow through us. And sometimes when I channel these divine beings, talk to me in different languages. It depends. I'm a South Indian, so I speak like three languages and I understand a couple more. So some spirits speak to me in Hindi and some spirits speak to me in Telugu. Yesterday, somebody came through and they started talking Tamil. I'm like, I can only understand a little bit, but I can't understand. So then I said, can I switch? And they started talking to me in my mother tongue. It's amazing how our mind can process it. We are an amazing human being, even though we can connect to the higher realms and it's all energy, right? But our minds can translate that. And then whatever we understand and whatever we can connect with, we are so powerful physically. All we need to do is like, connect that back with the other system, right? We are so detached because of, I think anciently people were all connected. If you look back ancient times, somewhere it got lost.
Before language.
Yeah, even with all the modernization and society has changed and we got disconnected, but otherwise I hope we can all go back. And then the new generation is very evolved and I learned so much from the new generation. They're changing and the new children who are coming with different frequencies.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time, and for giving us this opportunity to end the year in an amazing note and high vibration and energy.
Thank you so much. And I'm honored to be your last guest this year and wish everybody who's listening amazing. Whatever you're going through, I hope you heal from it. You bring more awareness into your life and bring your awareness to your heart space instead of mind during these holidays. Be with your family, spread joy and spread love. And I hope things are aligned for you next year. And it's just an amazing and beautiful year. So thank you very much, Andrea and Alexa.
Thank you, and we wish the same for you and your family and all of yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our listeners, thank you for listening. For more conversations and more guests, please subscribe and follow us. Thank you for following us the entire year, and we wish you happy holidays and a happy new year. Thank you. Bye bye.